up, yo? It's Marc Shannon with the Fantasy Knockout Fantasy Football Show. Today is Tuesday, September 27th. You can follow the show on social media at Fantasy Knockout. Make sure to subscribe whatever platform you're watching or listening on. Yes, that's right. Let's hit that goal of 100 subscribers from YouTube. I'm excited for today's show. It is the Week 4 must-add players. Who are we looking at this week? What's the flavor of the week for quarterback and defense? So how did I do last week with my must-starts? I went 5.5 out of 9. Not great on. I missed on the quarterbacks. Myers not playing kind of hurt, so I didn't count that one. And Edmonds falling in the end zone twice. Who would have expected that? I was right on the process. He didn't have the workload we expected, but the touchdowns just fell his way. It happens in fantasy. Oh well, we'll get it right this next one. Let's talk some news.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the news.
News with views. Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa out of Miami. He did not practice. I don't think any of the Dolphins player practiced Monday. He's got the back and ankle. The team said he is not in the concussion protocol despite being evaluated on the team sideline on Sunday. It looked like he was concussed, but they're saying it was more of a back issue. He plays this Thursday, so we might want to have an alternative option just in case. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle out of Miami. He's also popped up with a groin issue. Did not practice on Monday as well. I'm not worried about Waddle. He'll play most likely. Running back Dalvin Cook out of Minnesota. His head coach, Kevin O'Connell, said that Cook's shoulder, he's going to be day-to-day healing heading into week 4. They say this is the same injury as last year, and he's familiar with how to play with the pain, and he's expected to wear that brace and play in week 4. Running back DeAndre Swift out of Detroit, his head coach, Dan Campbell, isn't as confident as Kevin O'Connell is. He suggested that Swift's shoulder could be held out through the team's week 6 bye, which means he'd miss week 4 and week 5, and then bye week 6. So out for 3 weeks, rest. That's not good. He is banged up with an ankle injury too. So we're going to have to keep monitoring this throughout the week. Prepare for the worst. Let's hope for the best, though, with Swift. Running back Joe Mixon out of Cincinnati, his head coach Zach Taylor said that Mixon's ankle should be good to go for Thursday night's game, so go ahead and start him. Quarterback Mac Jones out of New England. So the test showed Jones suffered a pretty severe high ankle sprain. Not sure how long he's going to be out, but the next man up there is going to be Brian Hoyer. Don't love that. And then quarterback Zach Wilson out of the New York Jets. His head coach Robert Saleh said that he's expecting Wilson with the knee injury to return in week 4. Come on, Saleh, really? None of us really want this. Stay with Flacco. He's been good for fantasy so far. We don't need Wilson yet. Wait till he's 110%, right? Which he'll never get. The commissioner, Roger Goodell of the NFL, made an announcement that the NFL is replacing the Pro Bowl with a week-long skills competition and a flag football game. It's going to be renamed to the Pro Bowl games. Okay. Main event, the week 4 players that are must-adds. Let's start off with some quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence out of Jacksonville. He's 58% owned. He's most likely owned in your league, but go get him. I like him. He's got a longer season for the rest of this year. I would pick him up if I need a quarterback for the long term. If I need somebody to play this week, Jared Goff, Detroit. He's about 45% owned. Marcus Mariota out of Atlanta, 22% owned. Some tight ends to target. David Njoku, he finally had the game when we all just didn't expect it. Njoku's out of Cleveland. He's at about 51% owned. Logan Thomas out of Washington had a dud week this week, but he's 37% owned. He should bounce back. The guy I'm rolling with is Tyler Conklin out of the New York Jets. He's 21% owned. And then Evan Ingram out of Jacksonville. He's 26% owned. You can stream any of these guys if you're in need for a tight end. All right, the main part, the running backs that we're all looking to pick up this week. Khalil Herbert's my number 1 guy out of Chicago. He's 49% owned. If he's go get him. He looks like the stud. He looks like he's going to take over David Montgomery's role there. Montgomery did suffer a mild ankle sprain, I believe. So we're not sure if he's good to go this week or not. But if he misses any time, Herbert's going to hop on in there and be a stud. Alexander Madison out of Minnesota. If Cook is going to miss any time, he's about 55% owned. Jamal Williams out of Detroit. He's 61% owned, most likely owned by now. But since Swift is going to be missing, go get Williams. Brian Robinson out of Washington, he's about 52% owned. Ken Walker out of Seattle, he's about 54% owned. Pick up those guys. They'll have some season-long value going forward. And then here's some guys, running backs that are just more handcuffs that should stash if you have these guys with these injuries starting to go forward. Rashad White out of Tampa Bay, 29% owned. Jalen Warren out of Pittsburgh, 9% owned. Samaje Perine out of Cincinnati, 6% owned. All right, some receivers. If you're looking for some guys to add, my number one receiver is Romeo Doubs out of Green Bay. He's 25% owned. Russell Gage out of Tampa Bay, 42% owned. Josh Palmer out of the Los Angeles Chargers, 27% owned. Michael Gallup out of Dallas, 36% owned. Greg Dork out of Arizona, 17% owned. And then Mac Hollins, he pops it up. It had a solid week this week out of Vegas, 2% owned there. All right, let's talk some droppable players because you guys I'm always telling you guys to add, right? But then you're going, Mark, who do I drop? If I got somebody on my bench, who do I drop that's okay to pick up these guys? So if you got DJ Chark out of Detroit, Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Cleveland, Julio Jones out of Tampa Bay, Jarvis Landry out of New Orleans, Kadarius Toney out of New York, Mecole Hardman out of Kansas City, and Kenny Golladay out of New York, feel free to drop those guys, move on from those players. If you got Rex Burkhead out of Houston or Boston Scott from Philly, move on from them. Noah Fant out of Seattle or Mike Gesicki out of Miami or Hunter Henry out of New England, go ahead and drop those guys. It's okay. Let them go. You're not going to miss out. Do not play with the fear of missing out. Some streamable quarterbacks this week. We're going to go with Jared Goff out of Detroit versus Seattle. He's 45% owned. He's been serviceable. Seattle hasn't been all that great. And then on the other side, Geno Smith of Seattle. He's got Detroit. He's 9% owned. I know it's ugly. Don't want to do it. But if you're desperate, Geno's not a bad play this week. Some streaming defenses. Go get the Eagles. I mentioned them last week. They got Jacksonville this week. They're 57% owned. They're a legit good defense. Nice schedule the next 3 weeks. Jacksonville, Arizona, and Dallas. They've had 12 sacks, 4 picks in 3 games. And then the New York Giants is the other streamable defense this week. They got Chicago. They're about 11% owned. They're holding teams under to 20 points. They've gotten 3 sacks and 3 fumble recoveries in 2 games. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. The next show is Week 4 must-start players. Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe on whatever platform you're on. Leave a rating and review. Really helps me out. All right. Till next time. See ya.